What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at this really cool body lightning effect inspired by the movie Thor Ragnarok. So if you see here, we've got our subject who's a woman and there is lightning kind of running through her body. You see there are these glowing nodes at the points of contact and we even have some lightning in the foreground and in the background, and her eyes are glowing too, which is pretty cool. So this is going to be a pretty jam-packed tutorial. It's a really fun effect, and it's going to use a lot of techniques, so let's get straight into it. So first thing we need is to actually add some more features to Photopea. So we can do that by installing some plugins. You can just select Window and Plugins. And the most important plugin I'm going to need for this is Zeus, which is our Lightning plugin. And I just released a new update of Zeus earlier this week, or maybe it was last week. I can't keep track anymore, but um, this new update is probably the biggest update of Zeus I've made so far, so it's really fun and really going to help us a lot with this tutorial. So make sure to install Zeus and also Super Bloom. This is what we are going to be using for some of the glow effects, and also ProGen flares too. This is our lens flare plugin. So if you don't have those three plugins, make sure to install them. And let's get into the tutorial. So my base image is just this photo I downloaded from Unsplash that you can I'll link it in the description so you can download it yourself. And I just did some color grading with some shapes I put in the overlay blending mode. I can just walk you through that real quick. I took the pen tool in shape mode and with fill black, no stroke, and I just did this so I could kind of darken up the sky because I just wanted the sky to be a little less bright in this image, a little more stormy. So really simple. Make sure that when you're making a new shape, you add a new layer before you make it because otherwise it does some weird things. Oops, didn't mean to delete that. And if I just put the blend mode in overlay, that's a really easy way to just darken things up. Just a black shape in overlay blend mode. Now you'll see the edges are really weird because they're sharp. What you can do is just open properties and feather out the mask. Another thing I wanted was more contrast in this image. I'll just add a little bit of a curve. The problem with that though is that it kind of messes, the curves also mess with the color a little bit. You'll see now there's kind of more red in her skin. What I can do is change the blend mode to luminosity, but I also want to add some more blue to the image overall. So I'll just make a new color fill layer, set the color to something bluish cyan, not too saturated. Now set this this layer's blend mode to color and decrease the fill by a lot. That'll just give a little bit of a blue color grade to this image. Alright, so I think the first thing we're gonna do is do those lightning eyes. Well, they weren't really lightning eyes, they were just glowing blue eyes. And I've made a tutorial on this before, but I'm gonna be doing something slightly different today, so I'll just walk you through that real quick. Again, pen tool on the shape mode. This time we're using a white fill, and I'm just gonna make a selection around her eye. If you're new to the pen tool, just it's not too difficult. Just click and drag to make a curved edge. Do you guys even do manual selections anymore? Like, probably all use AI now, but back in the day, this was how we made all our selections. Anyhow, I'm just going to create a new layer and do that same thing on the other eye. All right. And again, I will feather these a little bit because the edges are a little hard. As I've shown in my video about eyes, we can pull up blending options and add a gradient overlay. Black to white is good. Make it radial. Invert it because we want the black on the outside, and up the scale. So it just adds a little bit of a round look to that. And we can also add inner shadow. Yeah, this is pretty good, but we can increase the size. That's just softening. We're softening up the shadow a little bit, and you can actually use your mouse to drag it around. And I might want to drop the opacity because it's a little intense. All right, now to duplicate that, oh, that looks kind of creepy, but to duplicate that shadow to the other eye, we can simply select the effects over here, hold the Alt key, and drag it to the shape for the other eye. Nice. And now we can make these glow. What I'll do is make a new color fill layer, make it black, and put it under the eye layers. And I can now open the Super Bloom plugin, drop the threshold down to 0, and then pick a nice color. Hit colorize and just maybe I'll make this bigger. Select more of a teal color, should be good. Add to document. Now if I hide this black layer, you'll see we have a perfect glow over those eyes. And I'm realizing that the background probably could have been darker. Alright, cool. Now we get to the fun stuff, which is lightning. So I'll just walk through some of the settings in Zeus real quick. I open up the Zeus plugin. So you see we have our lightning. We have some different presets. Dimensions. There's a length. That's just the length of the lightning, of course. If I increase it, it'll be longer. Taper kind of makes the end smaller, if you're into that. Twitch, these are the settings that control like how it wiggles around. If the amount is 0, it's just straight. When I increase it, it'll wiggle more. Branches, we're not going to worry about that right now, but that just adds branches. Core, you can control the thickness of the core as well as a little bit of a blur effect with softness. Glow, can change the color. The radius and depth settings are the same as for Super Bloom. And glow distortion, we're probably not going to worry about that today. So let's just go back to the arc preset. And I'm just going to be adding arcs of lightning at random places around her body. So this is a good looking arc as it is, but I think I want to change the glow color to a similar kind of blue as I had over her eyes. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's add to document and just see real quick. Yeah, maybe I made the glow too cyan. I'll change the hue back to 210. I think that'll be good. Can kind of experiment with that, but I think this will do for now. So basically what we'll be doing is creating a bunch of different lightning assets, adding them to the document, and just moving them around in our image. So I'll make that smaller, and I think I might just have um, a strand of lightning that's like moving through her shoulder and into her jaw, I guess. So to make different variations of this lightning, all we have to do is come to Twitch and change the seed. So I'll just hit the up arrow. That'll increase the seed by 1. And we can just take our new asset and add it to the image. Maybe this one will go around her shoulder. That might look interesting. I'll make it bigger, and what I can do here is actually, once I rotate this in place, what I can do here is actually just add a raster mask to that layer and take a black brush, soft and round, black brush, and just get rid of that extra part right there. Alright, you can play around with that more if you like, but I think I will just go with these for now. And it's already beginning to look a lot like the effect we want from Thor Ragnarok. But of course, we saw in the example that we need kind of nodes where the lightning is like passing through. So whenever the lightning comes in contact with her body, there should be a little bit of a flare at the point. So I'm going to be using ProGen flares too to create those flares. You can disable the reference image if you want, but I kind of like looking at it on the image, see what we're doing. I'll just take the flare and drag it to any point really where it'll look good. And all I really need here is the hot spot. I don't need the streak or anything, so I'm just gonna open all these and make them invisible. So now I can just open hotspot and focus on those settings. I don't need any rays coming out, so I'll set ray definition all the way to 0. I think the flare is probably too big, so I'll drop down its size. I think that'll be good for now. So now I'll turn off the reference image actually, and I'm just going to drag this flare back to the center of the document. Because what I want to do here is use this flare, just add it as a layer and duplicate it, and so I can use it multiple times. So I'll hit finish and it'll render out my flare and add it to our image and as a new layer. So now I can just close this pop-up, and now I can just drag this wherever I want. I'll drag it back to where we had it. I'll duplicate that layer, drag it to the other end of that lightning strand. Alright, so that is pretty much it for the main effect. Now there's just some extra things we can do to help sell this image. I think one was to add a lot more lightning, as you saw from the example. We can add some lightning in the foreground and in the background, so we're going to use Zeus for that again. This time we can just use the strike preset, uh, but add a lot of blur to the core, which I just do by upping the softness, maybe 16. All right, I'll keep it like that for now. And really did the same thing for the lightning in the background. I want to go back to the strike preset. Doesn't let me, so all I have to do is switch to another preset and go back to strike, and it'll give me that default lightning. And again, I can just up the softness and more than that, and add it to our document. And this time I'll just make it small. Hold Shift please, and put it in the background. And that's how we get our background lightning. Alright, I think this image is looking pretty good. So to finish it off, I will just use Color Theater to add a color grade. I might have forgotten to mention, but you can also install the Color Theater plugin. Um, but yeah, let's open that plugin, and it'll again have to load the image, but you can see we have our image and some settings. And I'll make this window bigger so it's easier to see what we're doing. And I think for this one, main thing, probably tint, make it more blue. Maybe 30 is good. And definitely want more of a deep blue in the shadows. So I will pick pretty intense blue color and just increase the amount. You see that makes it a lot better when I add blue to the shadows. Maybe not this much. That kind of looks a little too blue right here. Maybe I'll add some more teal to the highlights. So I'll pick a pretty teal color and up the amount on that. That looks pretty good. But I do think it's a little too bright. So I'll drop the brightness and up the contrast a little bit. And I might want a vignette. So down at the vignette place, I'll just to see what I'm doing, I'll set the opacity to 100. You see that it just kind of adds black around the edges. Doesn't look that good, so if I set the blending to overlay, it'll do more darkening of the edges instead of just adding black over it. Maybe soft light. Soft light is even better for this situation, I think. But I can increase the size, play around with that a bit. But I think this looks good, so I will hit finish. And with that, we are almost finished actually. You saw, and this is totally optional, but in my example, I also had some just anamorphic streaks off the side a little bit. That we can do with progen flares too again. What I can do instead of making just a hot spot, I want just a streak. So I will disable the hot spot and all of the other things around here. And now I have a streak. Maybe just put it off to the side like this. And I'll just hit finish. And it will add that flare to my document. Now the default blend mode for the lens flare is screen, but if you change it to color dodge or something like that, you kind of get a different effect. Linear dodge will also do something different, so kind of just play around with the blend modes. I think color dodge gives me a more subtle effect that looks more realistic, I think. So now I think we are actually finished. I think this image looks pretty good. Again, you can play around with the settings to your liking. You can move those lightning strands, move the flares around. Just take your time with this. But yeah, that's it for today. Uh, I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video.